Okay, everyone, welcome back to the channel with myself, Michael Nauss from statsedgetrading.com. If you're new here, every single week we go through stocks, bonds, futures. We try to get a big picture view on the weekly chart of what's happening, and I give you some trade ideas that I'm going to do with my own money potentially throughout the week. As always, go over to statsedgetrading.com if you want to learn more of this, if you want to join the email list completely for free, in which I will just send you an email when things occur. And there is a new thing there that I want to talk about for just a brief second. We have a trading plan course. So if you're someone who's out there and you're struggling with emotions in trading, or you're having problems understanding what to do from day to day, this course is 20 lessons long, video with me, written, and the plan is, and what the course is that you have a fillable PDF throughout them. So you're able to walk through step by step, filling in the important bits that will help guide you to build your own trading plan to navigate the markets with. At the end of it, you'll have access to that PDF, obviously, and your own trading plan and my own trading plan. So anytime you want to go and build a new plan, or you have to, tweak a plan in any way, shape, or form, I cover how to do that. You can go back to the course. So it took a lot of time and energy, and I'm really proud of it. So definitely go check that out at statsedgetrading.com. At the very least, make sure you sign up to the email list. Now, without further ado, let's go into this, and let's actually take a start with Bitcoin here. The simple idea here with Bitcoin is that that's Ethereum, that's Bitcoin. We are up a lot, as we know. The thing that I'm worried about, I guess, more than anything, is just the doji star that happened up here. And quite often, these can be potential reversal points. It needs another red week in order for it to be a reversal point, which is a doji star, evening star pattern, I think is the technical term. The other thing I want to look at is, I know this chart is ugly, but this is the commitment of traders data for the Bitcoin futures. So this is essentially who is long and who is short Bitcoin futures. As soon as you get large enough, you have to disclose that. And what we're seeing is that there's this big up move. So this blue line, ignore this because that's like a hedger, but this line right here represents the large traders and investors out there. If I zoom out, they have been more long Bitcoin now than they have ever been since the history of the contract. That to me gets me a little bit worried when the boat is shifted one side and we have this potential reversal pattern. So I'm going to keep a close eye on Bitcoin. Again, I'm long, not the coin itself, but I'm long a series of things in the stock market that are relative to it. Again, I'm not calling for an end of the world, Bitcoin going to zero, flames in the background of the thumbnail of this. All I'm saying is that we're up a lot. We have a potential reversal pattern on the chart, and we have a little bit too weighted sentiment, right? So maybe a pullback, maybe a rest. Both of those things, if you are bullish Bitcoin for the long term, are, in my opinion, even more bullish than something that goes up every day. I think once you break an all-time high like this, it's certainly natural to get some battle as it's dealing with this overhead resistance, and then a push higher. That's, for me, what I'd like to see in order to get long the actual coin itself and not just be long things like Coinbase that I am right now. All right, now into gold. So with gold, we talked about how we were breaking this all-time high right here, but it was a little bit overextended. We did get a little bit of a rest this week. So if we go into the daily chart, we just look at what's happened this week, pretty much nothing. And this is kind of what we want to see. I would maybe want to see another week or two of this in order to add to my gold position, but nothing here has me worried about gold. We're just kind of consolidating after this giant move up. That's, to me, more a bull flag than anything else. Silver, if we want to look at silver on the weekly, it's starting to catch up. It still has this breakout to have, and then it's way far from all-time highs. So some relative weakness here, but if gold continues, you would expect silver to catch up, as silver is just something that generally moves with gold. DXY, so this is the dollar index, still stuck within this range. Really nothing to write home about. Inside week this week, we talked about how this sell-off, and then we had this bounce, and how this bounce looks like it was going to roll back over and move lower. a lower dollar is generally good for stocks, but this week we just had a little bit of an inside week. So really nothing to write home about there. And that's why I focus on these things to make sure I'm not really, taking swings any which way. So that kind of covers all of the currencies that are denoted in the dollar. So let's look at least one Euro CHF. Every time you see me look down like this, because I've got my iPad here with notes. This Euro CHF is interesting to me. I need to look at the commitment of traders data for both Euro and Franc, but big strong move up, and we are into this potential resistance right here. So I'm just watching this zone here to see if we're going to get a bit of an overextended retrace. You can see we are in a downtrend for a period of time. And if we get that bounce and we hit that level, we could get a little bit of a pullback here. So again, on the currency side, that's one thing I'm watching next week. And then NZD, USD, if we get a move up, move up in the dollar, here is the Kiwi or the New Zealand dollar. This looks a little bit bearish to me, where we've had this big push up and it just looks like it's potentially failing here on the weekly chart, which could push us lower there on the New Zealand dollar. All right, now let's pop into Trade Ideas. Trade Ideas is actually having a pretty wicked sale this weekend of a 28% off. They generally don't have anything more than 20 to 25% off. So if you use Stats Edge 28, and that will be in the description below, you can save 20% off Trade Ideas. This is what I use for all of my stock analysis. If they ever got crypto and Forex, that would be amazing. There's so much more I can do with this when it comes to scanning and plan development. So we're going to take a look at the SPY here, and we're going to do that on the weekly chart, of course. We don't need this fundamental data for that. And two dojis here. So we talked about the one doji that we were seeing on Bitcoin. We have two here on the SPY. So again, these, like we talked about last week, whenever you have these weeks in which the open essentially equals the close for a week, a day, a 30-minute chart, it's one thing I love about trading, it's all fractal. These just, again, they don't represent necessarily turning points, they represent extreme indecision. You have bulls that fought, you had bears that fought, and at the end, nobody won. So it's like an equal fight that can go on for a long period of time. Sometimes they represent turning points, sometimes they just represent chop. So, until we break these lows or these highs and hold them on a weekly basis, I don't think there's too much information to be got here. The natural inclination for me is to say, well, we're up a bunch and we have some indecision. Yes, we're going to pull back a little bit, but again, I need to see that action before I'll actually take anything on that. If we go down to MDY, which is our mid caps, you can see there's going to be some more weakness as we go down that cap kind of tail, right? So we see the two dojis on the SPY, but here on MDY, we're seeing a pullback instead. So still an inside week, maybe it broke that by a tick, but still mostly an inside week. But two topping tails here on the MDY. We go to the IWM, and the IWM is even weaker. So as we go down the cap scale, which for new people just basically means the big guys are doing well, the medium guys are doing okay, and then the small guys, they're the underperformers. It makes sense because they're the smallest guys for a reason. If they were great profitable companies, they would be the biggest guys. And then semiconductors, I wanted to go over, right? Semiconductors doing that potential shooting star type or evening star type pattern that I was talking about there. This one would be a little bit more of a shooting star because it has a big top wick, and then it looks like it's reversing here. Again, I'm not calling for the end of the world of any of these. If SMH pulls back to 200, right, that's still an incredibly bullish story. Now we go into MSOS. So this is the one I wanted to talk about a lot here. And let's actually just first zoom out and take a look at the monthly chart on MSOS. So this is the marijuana ETF. And the marijuana ETF, again, incredible push up and then massive sell off. So we had, I don't know if you guys were trading for that long, but we had Tilray doing amazing. We had all these stocks just going absolutely wild. And then they all stopped and they all reversed. That was the Peloton or the AMC or the GME before then. There's always one sector of insane boom and then insane bust, and it was weed this time. But you can see it's been in this range from 2022. I talk about this a lot. Again, if you want to look it up, it's called it's something Weinstein. Damn. Just do market stage analysis. So this would be a decline, and then you have the accumulation phase, and then potentially an advance phase at some point. So I am watching this for a potential reversal, and the reason for that is if we go here, you can see what happened on Friday. So I like to watch the market a lot from these heat maps within Trade Ideas. One of the reasons I love this so much is that it can tell me what's up and down significantly on the day. And we had a 14% move on MSOS, so that made me start to look at the chart. And then if we take a look at the weekly chart here, you can see we, again, potentially have this big rounded bottom that's been going on for a long period of time. And then looks like maybe, if I draw this out, right, is this going to be a cup and handle, right? So here's your cup, and then we hit the high, and then it pulls back. Is that potentially a handle? And if we break through, say $10 or so a share, is that going to be a continuation of the weed stock? So that's one thing I need to keep an eye on, is if this breaks out, I need to make sure I am either going to trade the ETF, some leverage version of the ETF, or find some individual names itself. But this looks very interesting to me. So that's one thing I really wanted to harp on, is that I would never be the guy to be buying or to be interested in a stock that's doing this on the way down, but after it's based for a period of time and then it starts to kind of curl up, well, now you've got my interest, because I'm not saying we're going back to $60 a share or anything crazy like that. But if we have this round of bottom, we break out and we go to $15 from $10, that's 50% gain. That's amazing. If I can get a couple of those a year, I'm a happy camper. So, right, if we get to 20, well, then I'm just ecstatic. So that's what I'm looking there for MSOS. I wanted to just talk about URA. So uranium, you guys know how I'm a fan overall of uranium, but so far this year I haven't really mentioned it because it hasn't really been doing much. But if you draw this line in here, let's make this a little bit bigger. And then what we're seeing is that we had a bounce there and there and there. So this kind of line right here looks like it's very interesting. On the weekly chart, you can see a hammer candle. So if we start to get some movement on uranium next week, I'm very interested on that particular play right up through there. That's one thing that I'm watching. So last but not least, I want to talk about UNG. And I want to talk about this because I did a short video and a lot of people seem to have watched it. So I just want to go over what I've done so far in UNG. So if you missed it, again, make sure you're at stats@trading.com and that you're signed up for the email list there, because I email these out whenever I do a video. I'm kind of inconsistent because I do videos when I find something interesting in the market, except for this one, which I do every single week. And I saw this UNG on this green day right here, and I said, hey, this looks kind of interesting to me because it's holding this bottom. It put in this green day on a day that the rest of the market was red, and it seems to be holding this low. So yesterday when we sold off a bit, as it started to push up, I put a little bit of UNG on, and my stop is going to be just below this level right here. So the idea is that this thing's gotten absolutely hammered. It's showing some relative strength, although it's a very volatile instrument. So I just want to take a shot at these lows. I want to make it very clear that if it breaks these lows, I am completely out. I'm mainly and mostly a trend trader, but every now and then I see something like this. It seems to be holding above a level really well, and I want to take a shot. So the thing I wanted to state kind of very clearly with my chest here is that I think there's a less than 50-50 chance that I make money on this trade. And a lot of people would go, well, then why would you take a trade that you think there's less than a 50-50 chance that you're going to win? And my answer to that is that if I'm right, I think I can make many, many, many times more than I will lose when I'm wrong. And that's just the way it is. So I want to make sure that I am taking that trade in a way that if it that I believe it's selling off, it's not going to hurt me very much. I'm not too worried about it in any way, shape, or form. And another reason for it, I'll just bring this up, just like we talked about with the commitment of traders. This is something I've been studying more and more, studying some people that use this. As natural gas has been getting lower and lower, you've been seeing more and more shorts taking place. So again, it's one of those things where people are kind of loading the boat, in my opinion, a little bit to one side. So again, just a quick trade. I'm either going to be right and this thing's going to push off from here and I'll be out most of my position relatively quickly, or if it goes down. But the main thing I want to talk about is that, again, I believe wholeheartedly that I have a greater chance of losing money in this trade than winning money in that trade. So a couple things I'm watching here, some stocks, some SFM. This one's interesting because it has a 14% short float. And if we take a look here at the monthly chart, it's just a straight line up. And I love high short float stocks that just do this. I don't want high short float stocks like AMC that are awful companies that go down all the time because the shorts are winning. They have no worry or panic. They don't have any reason to cover. And if they do, they're covering for a profit. 14% of this float short is more interesting to me because they're definitely not making money. And a nice green candle, big push up after earnings, comes back, consolidates for a bit, and then looks like it might be making another move higher. If I go ICLR, same type of thing, big push up, not a huge short float, but a big push up on the monthly chart down here. I really love these picture-in-picture charts because you get multiple time frames at a glance. You can see it broke this major pivot high on the monthly chart and broke up. And then on the daily chart now, it's been pulling back for a number of days. So I'm going to see if this one pushes higher. EWTX. This one is a little bit beaten down, but you can see this push out of this $10 base or so we had in EWTX, and then a nice pullback. It's been consolidating for a period of time. So if we can get over this zone right here, just put on my price alert now before I forget, this price right here, that's where I'm looking to get involved. If it just rolls over, with any of these, if it just rolls over, I'm not interested. And then XENE, this one's another monster on the monthly chart. It's pulling back, and the reason this came up on my scanners because it came up on this anchored VWAP one right here, where right beside me, you had that massive candle up. On the daily chart, that was a huge volume candle as well. And now it's pulled back, and you can see twice in a row, it's come really close to that anchored VWAP, and then it bounces. So this is, I'm kind of just going to play a break of this trend line with a stop under there. And that would be the end of that. I'd either, right, get stopped out real quick, or if it gets up to $50 or so, the risk reward is phenomenal on that one as well. So thank you guys for coming by. I appreciate it very much. Make sure you go to Stats Edge Trading if you're interested in the trading plan course. Great. If not, just make sure you sign up for the email list so you just get these via email every time I do one. Thank you very much for watching, and get away from the screens.